Hello, now we are going to continue our work in problem solving. So Fred is 3 times Jane's age. The sum of their ages is 24 years. What is the difference between their ages? Now there's a lot going on in the English of this question. We have some specialized maths language, and we also have several steps that we have to think through in the question. So if we try to dive into this, we run a significant chance of not being able to make any progress. But if we break this down, it becomes a very manageable question. So let's start this off. We need a way to define what we've been asked for. So what is the difference between their ages? So I'm looking for the difference between Fred's age and Jane's age. So I need to be able to talk about Fred's age and Jane's age fairly easily. So let's do our regular trick of labeling things instead of having to write out Fred's age all the time and Jane's age all the time. We want to be able to abbreviate or to make shorter what we're talking about so we can get to the thinking part. So Fred's age I'm going to call F for Fred. And Jane's age I'm going to call J. So I've now got labels for the two ages that I'm talking about, so I can write them in shorter form. What do I know now? If I start reading through here, I know that Fred is 3 times Jane's age. So he's 3 times older than Jane is. So I'm going to need that piece of information in a minute. And then I say the sum of their ages is 24. Well, what does sum mean? Sum is a special maths word, so we should highlight it anytime we see special maths words. What does sum mean? It means if we add things up. So I'm taking this big block of English and I'm breaking it down into understandable bits. I know that sum means I'm adding stuff up. So when I add this age and this age together, I get 24. And then I'm asked, what is the difference between their ages? So when I'm defining it, now that I've done this preparation work of breaking down the question, can I define my question more clearly? What's the difference between their ages? Well, what does difference mean in terms of maths? Well, difference would mean we subtracted things. What's the difference between €10 and €6 would be €4. The difference means we subtract things. The sum means we would add them together. And the difference would mean that we would take them away from each other. So now we've gotten lots of our translation work done. Can we define our problem? What's the difference between their ages? Well, F is Fred's age, and we know he's older than Jane. So the difference between Fred's age and Jane's age would be Fred's age minus Jane's age. Fred's age minus Jane's age is what we are looking for. So we're looking for Fred's age minus Jane's age. I now have a much more concrete feel for what I have to find in order to know the answer. Because to find the answer to this question, I need to know Fred's age and I need to know Jane's age so that I can find the difference between them. So now let's write down, we're now at the kind of translation step. Now that we have defined our problem in maths terms, how am I going to find out what Fred's age and what Jane's age are? Well, the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to write down what I know about Fred and Jane's ages. I know that Fred is 3 times the age of Jane. So Fred's age, whatever it is, would be equal to 3 times Jane's age. So Fred's age is 3 times Jane's age. If Jane was 10 years old, Fred would be 30 years old. So whatever age Jane is, Fred is 3 times older. And that's what I've said here. Fred is 3 times older than Jane. This is a maths or a more mathematical way of writing Fred is 3 times Jane's age. So I've now taken that and I've translated it into more mathematical type language. And I know the sum of their ages is 24. And I know that sum is a word in maths that means to add stuff up. So if I add Fred's age and Jane's age, I have to get 24. So further work in my translation. If I add Fred's age plus Jane's age, it would be 24 years. So I now know those two things. Well, I have a relationship between Fred's age and Jane's age, and another relationship involving Fred and Jane's ages. So can I use that to figure out, could I use this fact and this fact together to figure out what Jane's age must be? Well, I'm going to run out of space maybe if I do it here. So let's go over here, and I can now take this information and engage with it. And I'm going to do that now. I'm going to move my interpret. I'm going to now engage with my problem. I'm going to see what's my first step. Could I draw a diagram in this case? I can't see a good diagram that I could draw now. We won't always have a diagram that we can draw. A lot of the time we will. But in this case, I can't see a good diagram that I could draw. So let's try and work with these stories, these sentences that we've got. Well, if I know that Fred is 3 times Jane's age, that means that if I add up Fred's age and Jane's age, I get 24. But I know that Fred is 3 times Jane's age. So this here, I could rewrite Fred's age plus Jane's age being equal to 24 years. Y for years. Well, that would be the same as saying 3 times Jane's age plus another of Jane's age would be 24. Well, now I have 3 times Jane's age plus Jane's age is 24. So that means in total I have 4 times Jane's age. If I have 3 of something and another of it, I have 4 times Jane's age is going to be 24 years. I should have my years here. So then I have to ask myself a question. What number multiplied by 4 would give me 24? In the long run, we're going to look at very concrete ways that we can figure this out, tools we will use to figure this problem out. But for right now, we just have to think about our times tables. 4 by what would give me 24? What must Jane's age be that if we multiply it by 4, we'd end up with 24? I think it must be 6. 6 4s is 24. Or 4 6s is 24, whichever way around we learned it. So 4 times 6 would be equal to 24 years. So what does that tell me? That tells me that Jane's age must be equal to 6 years. Jane is 6 years old. Now, can I use that to help me figure out how old Fred is? Well, I know that Fred is 3 times older than Jane. So that means that Fred must be 3 times 6 years old. Well, what's 3 6s? 3 times 6 would be 18. So Fred is 18 years old. And finally, I come back. Now that I have the parts of the question I was asked for, I found Jane's age, and then I found Fred's age, and now I can come back to my original question. What's the difference between their ages? And now that I've done this work, playing through the problem, the information I was given, can I figure out my answer? Well, the difference between the ages would be Fred's age minus Jane's age would equal 18 minus 6 would be equal to 12 years. So now I've solved my problem. Does my problem make sense? Does my solution make sense? I have to interpret it. Well, one thing I can check is that I knew from the very beginning, the very first sentence, Fred is 3 times Jane's age. From the work that I did, I can see that I got Jane's age, and then I multiplied by 3. I multiplied Fred's age by 3 to get 18. So I have followed that pattern. I can see in the question, Fred is a particular age and Jane is 3 times, Jane is a particular age and Fred is 3 times that age. And I can see that I got an age for Jane and then I multiplied it by 3. So because I took Jane's age and then multiplied by 3, that is the pattern I was given. That's one piece of evidence that I did out my question correctly. There's more than that, but that's an example of how you could argue. If you're asked to show how you knew that you'd gotten it correct, well, I did this part of what I was told. I can see in the question information I was given, and I can point, well, this is where I used that fact. This is where I used that part of the information I was given. So that's how we can justify our answer or interpret our answer, one of the ways that we can. And this is, again, how we are going to build up our skills. We get a big, complicated story. We try to define it using clear mathematical language, and this will become very clear over time. We'll do this all of the time once we get past first year. So we'll become very comfortable with this, and we're going to use this clear mathematical language, and we're going to take the information we're given in the question. We're going to figure out how to interpret it and translate it, and then we're going to use the information we're given to find out what we're missing, what we've been asked for when we define our question. And if we can master that, and if we can work hard at that, then we're going to do well at maths. And that's what we need for now.